I had been looking for a job for months, ever since I graduated from college with a degree in graphic design. The economy was in a slump, and the competition was fierce. I had sent out dozens of resumes, but I had only received a few rejections, and mostly silence. I was desperate for any kind of income, so when I saw an ad on Craigslist that said graphic designer needed for a small online business, flexible hours, good pay, no experience required. Email your portfolio and contact info to apply. I jumped at the opportunity. I quickly put together a portfolio of some of my best work and emailed it to the address given in the ad. I hoped that this would be my lucky break, that I would finally land a job that would allow me to use my skills and creativity. To my delight, I received a reply the next day. It was from a man named Mark, who claimed to be the owner of the online business. He said he was impressed by my portfolio and wanted to hire me. He asked me to come to his office for an interview and a trial project. He gave me the address and the time and said he was looking forward to meeting me. I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe that I had found a job so easily, and that it seemed to be exactly what I was looking for. I replied to Mark, thanking him for the opportunity and confirming that I would be there. I spent the rest of the day preparing for the interview. I researched the online business, which was called Designs by Mark. It was a website that offered custom graphic design services for various clients, such as logos, flyers, posters, and websites. It looked professional and legitimate, and I was impressed by the quality of the work displayed on the site. I also picked out an outfit that was smart but casual and packed a bag with my laptop, a notebook, and a pen. I wanted to make a good impression and show that I was ready to work. The next morning, I got up early and took a bus to the address that Mark had given me. It was in a suburban area of Lima, Ohio, about an hour away from where I lived. I checked the map on my phone and saw that it was a residential street with a mix of houses and apartments. I got off the bus and walked to the address. It was a 2-story house with a small front yard and a garage. There was a sign on the door that said Designs by Mark. I rang the doorbell and waited. A few seconds later, the door opened and a man greeted me. He was in his mid-30s with short brown hair and a stubbly beard. He was wearing a t-shirt and jeans and had a friendly smile. "Hi, you must be Jessica. I'm Mark, the owner of Designs by Mark." Come in, he said, extending his hand. I shook his hand and smiled back. "Hi, Mark. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for inviting me." He led me inside the house, which was cozy and cluttered. There were books, magazines, and papers everywhere, and a large desk with a computer and a printer in the living room. There were also several framed pictures of Mark with a woman and a child, presumably his wife and son. "Sorry for the mess. I work from home, and I don't have much time to clean up," he said as he closed the door behind us. "This is my office, where I do all my work, and this is where you'll be working today." He gestured to a small table with a chair and a laptop in the corner of the room. "I've set up a laptop for you with all the software and tools you'll need. You can use it to work on the trial project I have for you." He walked over to the table and handed me a folder. "This is the project brief. It's for a client who wants a logo for their new bakery. They want something simple, elegant, and catchy that reflects their name and their products. They also want it in 3 different colors, so they can choose the one they like best. You have 2 hours to complete the project and send it to me by email. Do you have any questions?" I opened the folder and looked at the brief. It seemed straightforward and doable. I nodded and said, "No, I think I understand." "Thank you." "Great. Then you can start right away. I'll be working on my own projects. But if you need anything, just let me know. I'll be right here," he said, pointing to his desk. He walked back to his desk and sat down. He turned on his computer and started typing. I sat down at the table and opened the laptop. I logged in with the password that Mark had given me and opened the software. I looked at the brief again and started brainstorming ideas for the logo. I was excited and nervous. I wanted to do a good job and impress Mark. I hoped that this would be the start of a long and fruitful collaboration. I focused on the task and tried to ignore everything else. I didn't notice the time passing by. I didn't notice the silence in the room. I didn't notice the door opening and closing. I didn't notice the footsteps behind me. I didn't notice the hand on my shoulder. I did notice the knife on my throat. I screamed and tried to push the attacker away, but it was too late. The man Mark had caught me off guard. He had snuck up behind me and held a knife to my throat, threatening me to comply with his demands. My heart raced as I struggled against his grip, but he was stronger. In a panic, I remembered the self-defense classes I had taken in college. With all my strength, I elbowed him in the stomach and twisted out of his grasp. Adrenaline coursing through my veins, I grabbed the nearest object, a heavy paperweight, and swung it at him, hitting him square in the face. Mark stumbled backward, clutching his bleeding nose, giving me just enough time to bolt towards the door. Without looking back, I raced out into the street, my heart pounding in my chest. Tears streamed down my face as I ran, my mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. Finally, I spotted a passerby and screamed for help. They quickly dialed emergency services, and within minutes, the police arrived on the scene. Trembling and in shock, I recounted the terrifying ordeal to the officers, who assured me that they would do everything in their power to apprehend the attacker. After a thorough investigation, Mark was arrested and charged with attempted assault and kidnapping. It turned out that he had lured other unsuspecting victims to his house under the guise of job interviews, only to attack them in a similar manner. I shuddered at the thought of what could have happened if I hadn't fought back. Despite the trauma of the experience, I felt a sense of relief knowing that I had escaped unharmed and that justice would be served. With the support of my friends and family, I slowly began to heal from the ordeal, and I vowed never to let my guard down again. As for Mark, he was eventually convicted and sentenced to prison, where he would no longer pose a threat to innocent people. It was a small victory in the face of darkness, but it brought closure to a chapter of my life that I was eager to leave behind. I had been looking for a motorcycle for a long time. I wanted something fast, sleek, and affordable. I browsed through various websites and apps, but nothing caught my eye, until I saw it. It was a 2013 Honda CBR 600RR, black and red, with low mileage and a clean title. It looked like a dream, and the price was unbelievable. Only $5,000. I couldn't believe my luck. I quickly clicked on the ad and sent a message to the seller. "Hi, I'm interested in your bike. Is it still available?" I waited anxiously for a reply. A few minutes later, I got a notification. "Yes, it is. Are you serious about buying it?" I typed back as fast as I could. "Yes, I am. Where are you located? Can I come and see it today?" The seller responded almost immediately. "I'm in San Jose. Sure, you can come today. How about 4 p.m.? I checked the time. It was 2:30 p.m. I had enough time to drive there from San Francisco, where I lived. I agreed to the time and asked for the address. "Oh, great. It's 123 Main Street, San Jose. See you soon." I grabbed my keys, wallet, and phone and headed to my car. I was so excited. I had a feeling this was the one. I had always wanted a motorcycle, ever since I was a kid. I loved the thrill, the freedom, the speed. I couldn't wait to get on the road. I drove for about an hour, following the GPS directions. I arrived at the address around 3:45 p.m. It was a quiet residential street, with modest houses and well-kept lawns. I parked in front of the house that matched the number. I looked around, but I didn't see any sign of the bike or the seller. I texted the seller. "Hey, I'm here. Where are you?" I waited for a reply, but none came. I checked the ad again to make sure I had the right address. It was the same. I decided to call the seller. Maybe he was busy or didn't hear my text. I dialed the number, but it went straight to voicemail. "Hi, this is John. I'm sorry, I can't take your call right now. Please leave a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible." I hung up and tried again, but the same thing happened. I started to feel uneasy. Something was wrong. Maybe it was a scam. Maybe the bike didn't exist. Maybe the seller was trying to rip me off. I decided to get out of there. I didn't want to waste any more time. I got back in my car and started the engine. As I was about to drive away, I heard a loud bang. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I looked down and saw blood. I had been shot. I gasped for air, but I couldn't breathe. I felt dizzy and weak. I saw two men running towards me, wearing masks and holding guns. They opened the door and dragged me out of the car. They threw me on the ground and kicked me. "Where's the money, you idiot? Where's the money?" one of them shouted. I tried to speak, but I couldn't. I felt blood filling my mouth. I saw them searching my pockets, taking my wallet and phone. They laughed and high-fived each other. "Nice job, bro. We got him good. Let's get out of here before the cops show up." They ran back to their car, a black SUV, and sped away. I lay there on the pavement, bleeding and dying. I couldn't believe what had happened. I had been lured into a trap by a fake ad, by a fake seller, by a fake bike. I had been robbed and killed for nothing. I thought of my family, my friends, my life. I had so much to live for. I had so many dreams. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to have fun. I wanted to ride a motorcycle, to feel the wind, to be free. But now it was all over. I was never going to do any of those things. I was never going to see anyone again. I closed my eyes and waited for the end. Suddenly, amidst the haze of pain and despair, I heard distant sirens growing louder and closer. Hope flickered within me as I struggled to hold on. Moments later, a pair of headlights illuminated the scene, followed by the urgent voices of paramedics rushing to my side. "Stay with us, buddy. You're going to be all right," one of them reassured me as they swiftly assessed my injuries and stabilized me. I faded in and out of consciousness as they worked to save my life. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed, surrounded by beeping monitors and the sterile smell of antiseptic. My chest ached, but I was alive. Over the following days, I learned that the police had launched a thorough investigation into the incident. However, despite their efforts, the perpetrators behind the fake ad and the brutal attack remained elusive. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. As I recuperated in the hospital, I reflected on the ordeal I had endured. Though shaken and scarred, I refused to let fear and bitterness consume me. Instead, I resolved to cherish each moment and pursue my dreams with even greater determination. Though the road ahead might be daunting, I was grateful for the second chance at life. And as I gazed out of the hospital window, I knew that someday, somehow, I would find the courage to ride again. I had been looking for a new phone for a while, since my old one was cracked and slow. I didn't have much money to spare, so I decided to check out Craigslist for some cheap deals. I saw an ad for a Samsung Galaxy S10 for only $200, which seemed too good to be true. But I was curious, so I texted the number and asked if it was still available. The seller replied quickly and said yes, it was. He said he had bought it for his girlfriend, but she broke up with him and left the phone behind. He said he just wanted to get rid of it and move on. He sounded genuine and friendly, so I agreed to meet him at a nearby Starbucks the next day. I was excited and nervous as I drove to the meeting place. I hoped the phone was in good condition and that the seller was honest. I had heard some horror stories about Craigslist scams, but I also knew many people who had successful transactions. I figured it was worth the risk for such a bargain. I parked my car and walked to the Starbucks. I looked around for the seller, who had described himself as a tall, blond guy wearing a blue shirt. I spotted him sitting at a corner table, holding a phone in his hand. He waved at me and smiled. I walked over to him and introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Jessica. You're the one selling the phone, right?" He nodded and stood up. He was taller than I expected and had a muscular build. He had piercing blue eyes and a charming smile. He looked like a model, not a scammer. "Hi, Jessica. I'm Ryan. Nice to meet you. Here's the phone. It's in perfect condition. You can check it out if you want." He handed me the phone, and I took it. It looked new and shiny, with no scratches or dents. I turned it on and saw that it was unlocked and had no password. I browsed through the apps and settings, and everything seemed fine. I was impressed and happy. "Wow, this is amazing. It's exactly what I wanted. Thank you so much. How do you want me to pay you?" He shrugged and said, "Cash is fine. Do you have it with you?" I nodded and reached for my purse. I had withdrawn $200 from the ATM earlier and had it in an envelope. I opened my purse and took out the envelope. As I did, I noticed that Ryan's smile changed. It became colder and more sinister. He glanced around and then leaned closer to me. "Listen, Jessica. I'm sorry to do this, but I need you to give me all your money. Not just the $200, but everything you have. And your purse too. And your car keys. And don't make a scene, or I'll hurt you. Do you understand?" I felt a surge of fear and disbelief. I realized that I had been tricked. He was not a seller, but a robber. He had lured me into a trap with a fake phone and a fake story. He was probably not even Ryan. He was a criminal, and I was his victim. I tried to act calm and said, "What? What are you talking about? This is a joke, right?" He shook his head and said, "No, it's not a joke. It's very serious. And you better do what I say, or you'll regret it. I have a knife in my pocket. I'm not afraid to use it. So hand over your money, your purse, your keys, and your phone. Now." He reached for the envelope in my hand, but I pulled it back. I was scared, but I was also angry. I had worked hard for my money, and I was not going to give it up so easily. I decided to fight back. I said, "No, I won't. This is my money, and you can't have it. You're a liar and a thief, and I'm not going to let you get away with this. Help. Someone help me. This guy is trying to rob me." I screamed as loud as I could, hoping to attract attention and help. I hoped that someone would hear me and come to my rescue. I hoped that Ryan would get scared and run away. I hoped that I would be safe. But none of that happened. Instead, Ryan grabbed me by the hair and pulled me towards him. He put the knife to my throat and said, "Shut up, you stupid bitch. You just made a big mistake." The world spun as I felt a sharp pain radiating from my head. Everything went black as I lost consciousness. When I regained awareness, I found myself lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by the sterile smell of antiseptics and the gentle beeping of machines. My head throbbed with dull ache, and I felt disoriented. A nurse noticed my stirring and rushed to my side. "You're awake. How are you feeling?" She asked with a mixture of concern and relief. I struggled to collect my thoughts. What happened? I managed to croak out. "You were attacked," the nurse explained gently. "Someone found you unconscious near the Starbucks, where you were supposed to meet someone. You've been here for a few hours now. Do you remember anything?" Bits and pieces of the harrowing encounter flooded back into my mind. The fake ad, the meeting with the seller, the sudden shift from cordiality to aggression. And then the blow to my head. "I remember," I whispered, tears welling up in my eyes. The nurse offered a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry. You're safe now. The police are investigating, and they caught the perpetrator. He's going to face justice for what he did to you." Relief washed over me, mixed with gratitude for the swift action of law enforcement. Despite the trauma, I felt a glimmer of hope, knowing that the person who had inflicted such terror upon me would be held accountable for his actions. As I lay in the hospital bed, surrounded by the warmth of compassionate care, I resolved to reclaim my sense of security and resilience. Though scarred by the ordeal, I refused to let fear dictate my life. With each passing moment, I grew stronger, determined to emerge from this darkness with renewed strength and purpose.